payments are not going to the child, then what are they going for? Is that the question you're asking, or do I have it wrong?
No, you have it wrong. Okay, and I'll read it verbatim. Okay. The United States Supreme Court stated that child support is not for the best interest of the children.
Okay.
The state claims that child support is for the best interest of the children. The United States Supreme Court, being the second highest court in the land, has already spoken. So therefore, if the United States Supreme Court has clearly stated that child support is not for the best interest of the children, how can a man apply this case law with this precedence? And remember, all Supreme Court rulings are binding on all courts.
That was Mr. Osiris on the Obsidian Network. When I was a guest on the Mr. Obsidian show, he called in. I'm doing this video because once again, it's 11:26 in the morning, and ironically, at 10:46 this morning, I got yet another message from Mr. Osiris, and he left this on my Obsessed video. Because let's be clear about something. I mean, crystal clear. Mr. Osiris, when that show was on, you had a chance to go toe-to-toe with the champ. You hung up the phone. And then you was asked a series of questions. I'm sorry, you asked a series of questions that nobody understood. So let me finish.
Child support is not for the best interest of the children. Then how can a man take that law, which is binding on all lower courts, and get his case dismissed? Because obviously the Supreme Court is not lying, all right? They're clearly stating it. And
that is Brother Omen Osiris. You just heard the question. Basically what he's asking, if the state Supreme Court deemed that child support is unconstitutional, etc., how can I take what the state Supreme Court said and take it into court? Those are his words. So let me answer it for you. What Mr. Osiris is taking is a state Supreme Court ruling, and he's saying that you could take what the state Supreme Court said and you could take it into court. But what Mr. Osiris didn't say is whoever was taking that issue to the courts in fact was talking to that person in particular, and he never told us the outcome. He's just simply telling us this is what happens and what you can do. So let me educate you, because I am Christopher Smith of the League of Dads, League Legal, Chris Carpet Cleaning, Veterans Law Services, Chris's Carpet Cleaning. I got a whole bunch of things going on. But let me answer the question for you, since he hung up the phone. Mr. Osiris, when I got taken for child support, I did not, and I repeat, I did not get taken down to child support by the state Supreme Court. I got taken down by Atia LaShawn Bradley. Follow me. The local courts gave Atia LaShawn Bradley a child support order. So Mr. Osiris, a judgment, excuse me. So Mr. Osiris, I wasn't challenging the state Supreme Court. I was challenging Atia LaShawn Bradley. You see how this works is like this. Excuse me. How this works is like this, Mr. Osiris. Since you keep, you sending me all these messages, you keep coming at me. I'm gonna take your words and break it down. The state Supreme Court don't have no say-so on a county level. Because Atia LaShawn Bradley took me to court to obtain a judgment, the county court gave Atia LaShawn Bradley a judgment, and the county court under the premise of Atia LaShawn Bradley is trying to get money from me under the terms of child support. That's why if there's no body, there's no child support. That's why when welfare comes after an individual, they only come after an individual after a woman signs over their rights to child support, to welfare. You see, they come after us, Mr. Osiris, under the guidelines of it's a judgment. Nothing got to do with the state Supreme Court. Let us listen on. Because Mr. Obsidian couldn't understand the question. Because Mr. Osiris talks in slickery. Please let me continue.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, hang on.
Yeah,
So what you're saying, I'm sorry, stay with me, Chris. Just stay where you are.
No.
So what you're saying, Osiris.
I want to comment on that.
Hang on. Cool. Hang on.
I'm chill. I'm on ice, man.
So what you're saying, Osiris, is that since the High Court has ruled that child support is not in the interest of the child, how can lower courts impose this on men? Isn't that unconstitutional? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying.
No again. Mr. Osiris is talking in riddles. He's the riddler. And he's not asking any questions, nor is he talking on a county level. Let us continue.
How can a man use that case law to remove the child support case? If the state is stating that child support is for the best interest of the children,
see how you gotta keep repeating it because nobody understands it.
In law, there's two things: right and wrong. That means that the Supreme Court is right, and that means the state is wrong. So therefore, can you please explain how a man should use this case law in order to get his case dismissed? You do get cases dismissed. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes. Hang on. Hold it, Chris. Just speaking to me. You and I are talking. So I'm gonna answer it with the way I think the answer is. The answer is to take the case to the Supreme Court. If a man is being charged with
Mr. Osiris said, there you go.
Okay. Your reasoning feels that it's in conflict.
Mr. Obsidian said that. Mr. Osiris said, there you go. So you're going to take your child support case up to the state Supreme Court. You do know that the state Supreme Court only hear cases based on if they want to or not. You do understand that there are cases that's going to get filed today in the state Supreme Court, which is the 27th of July. That's not going to be heard until the 27th of July, 2017. That's not going to be heard until probably January 2020. Wow. Let's listen in.
High court's ruling, then the way to deal with that is to take your case to the Supreme Court. Now, we have easy reference and precedence for this. Just last summer, this is what happened with gay marriage. Gay and lesbian couples around the country couldn't get married in their various states. Some could, some couldn't, depending on what state they were in. They took the case to Supreme Court, the court ruled, and that was that. The same thing applies here. If a man feels, like you do, that he's being unfairly made to pay support when the court has ruled otherwise, then the trick is to take that case to the Supreme Court in that individual particular case.
Yeah, let me say something. Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, well, Mr. Osiris, even though he just insulted me and called me a name, but we gonna exempt that because I'm a master of tearing people apart with the logic. When an individual get on your forum and he's quoting everything in the higher court level, what happened with Tom Brady today? Tom Brady just had a ruling from the Supreme Court that said they wouldn't even hear his case. So if we, the common everyday dudes, we're not dealing with nothing in the Supreme Court, are we? I don't know nobody that I helped had their case at the Supreme Court level. See, what Mr. Osiris is doing is he's talking about law that's so far up in the stratosphere, and you couldn't even understand them. And then when I answered him a question, I answered his question based on a clear, uncut example, federal laws, then trickle stuff down to the local laws, which is licensed by the federal, and then they say you can apply law the way you want, as long as it doesn't violate nobody's constitution. By the time it gets down to the level, Mr. Obsidian, that you and I live on, it's something chopped up, different, and not the same version that Mr. Osiris is trying to put on your forum tonight.
Let me tell y'all what I mean by that. The state Supreme Court ruled that the lower courts, which is the counties, etc., states, etc., cannot, and child support isn't. So what the lower courts say, the courts that had me for child support, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, those individuals said, oh, since we can't get them for child support, we're going to make them pay for the child, and then if they don't pay, they're going to go to jail for contempt. You see, what Mr. Osiris isn't telling anybody is nobody goes to court for non-payment of child support. Let me say that again. No one goes to court for non-payment of child support. The courts are slick. They don't want to violate your constitutional rights. So what they send you to court for is for contempt. And let's be clear about something, because Mr. Osiris won't tell you this. When it comes to contempt, there is no set law. This is why you can go for contempt and only get a week. I can go for contempt and get 2 weeks. I had individuals that was renting my house. He went to jail for 1 year. And dig this, when he went to jail, they put him on work study. So when he went to jail, he got up in the morning, went to work, came back at 6 o'clock, reported back to work to the jail cell, and the prison system took his paycheck. Let us continue.
Try and make it seem like someone doesn't know what he's talking about. Because let's be clear about something, Mr. Osiris. If in fact this individual was so good at what he was doing, he wouldn't be talking on your forum today, trying to debate my product. He wouldn't be doing that. He wouldn't have called me out last year. He would have been doing his thing, and he would have been just doing what he's doing. He's on your forum talking that same high level, court to the third power on a Thursday at 3 o'clock trash, and he's thinking and he's losing people lost in translation. That's what he's doing. He's a master at that.
Now, what I just said was, Mr. Amen Osiris, if you listen to him, he will make references to federal court, statutes, laws, this and all that, and all that gets lost in translation. If you don't understand, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The higher courts, they speak. By the time it gets to you and I, they went through states, cities, jurisdictions, etc., etc., etc. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I tell my wife, tell the kids to be quiet. She tells the kids, you better be quiet or your dad gonna come in here and deal with you. That ain't what I said though, is it? That's what Mr. Osiris is talking about.
He needs to try to have a bout with the champ, and he needs to say to people, he asked me a question and I didn't know what he was talking about. This is why I just said, if you didn't get what I said, man, your show is in archive. Back it up and listen to it again. Because let me say it in a clear, understandable form that everybody can listen to. When the state Supreme Court says something, by the time it gets down to us, the everyday person, it goes through the hands of the court. The Supreme Court, Brother Obsidian, doesn't hand you a law and doesn't hand me a law. They hand it to courts, and courts hand it to their courts, and who hand it to states, and then they hand it to their local jurisdictions. And then local jurisdictions, they have what you call local loopholes. Brother Obsidian, only attorneys are licensed and have access to these local loopholes.
You see, Mr. Osiris, when he called into the show, he didn't really know the depth of my law knowledge and my understanding on the law. So let me break it down to what I just said right there. Local loopholes is something that your attorney and attorneys are aware of. So let me break that down to you. You go to court without an attorney. And then they'll say to you, here's what the average person does. They go to court and they take their child support, they take their pay stubs, right? And they go to court and they show the judge their pay stubs. But what they should do is not take nothing to court until they see the woman's paperwork. Because when you get a paperwork to come to court, this is something that Mr. Osiris ain't gonna tell you. When you get paperwork to come to court, it should have all of the evidence that the child's mom present to you, so you'll know, and you'll be able to add it up with yours before you get to court, and then you'll be able to come up with your child support amount, and then you can go there, and when the judge says something, you will agree or disagree with it. Let us continue.
When you went to school for law, not jailbird law or junkyard law, you know these things.
Okay, let me jump back in.
Now this is going to be very interesting because like I told everybody, Brother Obsidian is a damn good mediator. And what Mr. Osiris thought, well, he was going to come with that slickery. And he thought he was going to be able to go wild. He didn't know that Mr. Brother Obsidian was going to narrate this thing correctly. Now listen to when Mr. Osiris then tried to poison this radio format like he poisoned everybody else and said he runs around and says he's an attorney. Listen to how Brother Obsidian corrects him. And it feels good when someone else can correct you and you don't have to say a fucking word.
Let me jump back in here and ask Osiris this. So Osiris, the question that you asked sounds like a fairly informed legal question. Are you?
That's all I did was ask the question. I didn't insult anybody. I just asked the question. That's all I'm doing is asking the question.